That's it. That's it, folks. The finale is here, y'all, for The Last of Us. I'm your host, Ron Chain, and welcome to Bottles and Bricks, a Last of Us podcast. We gotta talk about this, and I got Gianni thus far. Gianni, how you doing, man?
Doing pretty good, man. How are you?
I'm. That was a lot. That was a lot.
It definitely
Um,
was.
yeah, folks. Please, if you have not checked out the show's last episode of the season, please go do so and then come back and hang out with us because we are talking spoilers. We're talking spoilers. If you're a Last of Us fan, you're gonna want to tune into what we're saying, and if you're new to the franchise, proceed with caution because we're gonna talk about the finale episode 7, but we're gonna have to bring up stuff in the game because
You have to.
stuff was set up and shit might go wild. So we got a lot to say. But Johnny, you've seen the finale episode. It ended. The 7-week journey is done. How do you feel at the end of it for this one?
Overall in the season, very positive. Overall in this episode, pretty positive. I enjoyed the episode. I didn't love it. I I don't know. I feel like this episode I felt the pace get pushed up a notch,
Mm,
and I was okay with it, and also feeling like wow, like we're really getting a lot in this episode, like maybe too much. I don't know, I'm a little mixed on it. I liked the episode, but I felt like maybe one more episode in the season could have helped this flow a little bit better. I don't know, that might be just me. The more I
I
think
see that.
about it, the more my, I guess, feelings and opinions change on it. I've also only seen the episode one time. But I overall really enjoyed the episode. I It ended exactly how I think we all kind of thought it would end. For those that have played the game, it ended at the theater, which I think we all expected that. I was kind of surprised to see them drop the Seattle day one to kind of get people prepped for season three. Um, I guess the best way I could describe my critiques with this episode is that instead of being the finale of season two to me, it almost felt like prep for season three, which I get it has to, like, you have to set up the third season, but I feel like there was a lot of focus on setting up the next season instead of like really like ending Ellie's chapter in this story for now. Um, and I talked about it a lot last episode, but I was really hoping they would take Ellie there and make her just like, kind of this rabid dog off the leash. And I didn't really feel that way completely. I think Bo did a great job with what was given. And what was given was interesting. I really liked the back and forth with Ellie and Jesse. I thought that was interesting. And that gave me a little bit of what I wanted, like the intensity from her. And I thought it did a great job of just fleshing out their relationship and their dynamic way more than we got in the game. So overall, I think Jesse in the show was done way better than he was in the game, and I can say the same for Dina so far. They just got way more meat to chew on, I guess. Like content wise, a lot more depth. So I love that aspect of it. Um, yeah, I don't know. I like the episode. It didn't blow me away like I kind of was hoping it would, but I enjoyed it, and obviously I'm excited for season three. Um, and I think we'll get a little bit more into like the minutia of the episode as we continue our episode. But overall, I'm positive on the finale, but I didn't love it like I wanted to. I think it could have been one of the best episodes of the season, but instead it's kind of middle of the pack for me, I would say, personally.
I could see that. I understand that notion. Yeah, I like the episode.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't blown by it,
Mm-hmm.
and there is a lot to be said. Before we dive into it, before I give my thoughts on it, we have a lot of comments. So thank you so much for those who have tuned
Yeah.
in. And folks, please share the enthusiasm, spread the word out to everybody in the world. I don't care what time zone they're at. Let them know if you're a Last of Us fan, come hang out with us. We got lots to talk about. But first and foremost, we got Tig O'Neill saying Ellie made her choice. Now everyone starts getting bagged in the consequences of her and Abby's making. Speaking of Jesse, how many death flags did he have in this episode? I
Had
like
to.
the bullet wound and his right cheek mirrored the bullet hole in the left cheek of a firefly in the season 1 finale. Also, Abby, nice bruise around the neck. We'll get back to that in season 3. I'm enjoying the shared emotionally compromised sessions that Neil Druckmann, Craig Mazin, and Hallie Gross have created for the show. These three gremlins should always be fed after midnight because with each season, the writing for the TV series is even more ruthless than the writing for the games. We'll get into that in perspective of that. I loved how by replacing the heads of production design, set decorators, and wardrobe departments led to each raising their game for each season of the show. I didn't know that. Okay. It must be said that the three main actresses for this season killed it. Flowers all around to Bella Ramsey, Kaitlyn Dever, and Isabella Merced. I completely agree. Really, all the guest actors and actresses this season, in some instances, elevated the story from POVs we never saw coming. Yep. Red Dragon's not saying evening. Hello, Red Dragons. Darren Section, have a great stream, folks. Thanks, Darren. Get some rest, man.
What's up, Darren?
I'm kind of annoyed about the writing they did for Ellie in the whole season. I've been hearing a lot about that. But Bella Ramsey is a great actress. That cast was for sure all great. It's the writing I have a problem with. We'll get into that. And I know someone's going to love to get into that. And he told me, yo, I have thoughts. Is one other than George Alexandria. Terrell, how you doing?
Yo, coming in hot. You know what I mean? Coming in hot. as the way it probably should be. You know what
I mean? So Johnny just gave his thoughts on how he felt and how he liked the finale, but I think even he can also sense that there was a little bit of a like someone dropped the nos and be like, all right, we gotta go, keep going, let's get to the aquarium, let's get to the boat, let's get through, I hope you make it,
Yeah.
How do you feel after seeing the finale of season 2?
Well, it's definitely rushed, which is very weird because there's just so much story in the game. It's definitely rushed, which is such a weird place to be at with the show. Because like HBO is like a perfect home base for like quality, especially production quality. All the right ingredients seemingly were there, though in hindsight, it's like, Jesus, I feel like if Neil had directed each episode, like this bad boy would be like, probably be like a masterpiece. Okay. the show, probably be a masterpiece, but I don't know. It just feels rushed. It feels very flawed, unfortunately, particularly in season 2. Like season 1, I think it's a pretty decent argument that season 1's like at least good to decent. I think that's a fair argument. But this season feels flawed to me. There's a lot of ways we can dissect this, but it being rushed is a good place to start.
That's valid. Yeah, I know that pacing is something that like a lot of us were worried going into the second game because it's just the volume. Yeah. So much stuff they got to get to. And I think from a world building perspective, up until like the finale that I've dealt with the time they spent with building out this world and whatnot. And I felt, I was damn sure that they were going to make us feel the way we felt leading up to that moment. You wasted it. This might be just me arrogant, but I for sure thought this was going to be like an hour and a half finale. I for sure thought they were going to be like, all right, let's do past an hour. Let's just spend time with Jesse, the father. And then we're going to spend time with Isaac, the leader. And then we're going to spend time with Ellie, the wanderer, and see how that plays out. And Yeah, I like the episode. It doesn't right now sitting where I'm at feeling with because I've gone back and seen some of the scenes. I was even checking myself how I felt with the time they were taking, and it doesn't crack the top 3 or 4 episodes of the season, in my opinion, this far. But we'll talk season as a whole in another stream. But I I appreciate that there's so many times in this episode that Ellie just kept getting a mirror thrown at her and be like, look at yourself. Do you really want to make this move right now out in the open when we have a pregnant woman who's injured and your uncle is out there by himself being cornered? And so I appreciate that they took that into consideration. But do you think, let me pose this question now. Do you think they should have gone lean more closer to the game for this episode, this instance? Even though they did, there's a lot of callbacks to the game, but in terms of pacing, in terms of making us feel the scope of travel,
Bro,
to get like, do you guys feel like they should have been more like lean into the game, or do you feel that this grounded level was what marked and tracked better from what they've been doing as an adaptation?
so I went back and I watched just the scene of like the Owen and Mel offing, if you will, right? And like it's just in the game, it's so much more visceral.
Mhm.
There's not this like weird accidental death. Like in the game, like it's straight up like she specifically murdered these two people, like directly. And I feel like it sounds so weird to sounds weird defending murder, but fictional murder, anyways. But it's so interesting how her violence in the game is a crucial point that like season 2 of this show has ignored, which I feel like is flawed, unfortunately. And this is hard because like I loved Chernobyl, you know, like I gave Chernobyl like a 11 out of 10. That's a
I fucking love
Chernobyl's
Chernobyl.
great.
It's fantastic. I think what was it, like 5 episodes or something? Like it's very
5, 7,
short,
I think. Let
but
me check.
Something like that.
it's such a masterpiece. So like, you know, and it's even weirder because I think season 1's good, but for some reason there's clearly problems happening in season 2. Maybe they're just microscopic for YouTube, but they're very big for me. God, this is such a crucial hour to be showing flaws. Lord. God, I lost where I was even going, but I'll come back. But man, oh man, it just, I don't know. I'm going to let him go.
As far as I can tell, it is a 5-part episode series for Chernobyl. So yeah, for those who, if you if y'all want to, if y'all want to spend time fucked up with the show, just go hang out with Chernobyl.
Fantastic show.
Yeah, if you want to watch something that's wholly great and dark as hell, that's it. Okay, that's like Nightmare. That one even scares me, and I'm hard to scare. So
yeah, that show, and I've said it from episode 1. When I knew that the guy who made that show was doing Last of Us, I was like, I'm in. It felt like when Denis Villeneuve was announced. For me, from that reminded me of how I felt when I heard Denis Villeneuve was going to do Blade Runner 2049 and Roger Deakins was shooting it. I was like, oh shit, those pieces fit perfectly. And especially with the material from Chernobyl, I was like, okay, they're probably gonna have a good time figuring out how they're gonna do part 2.
But
Part 2 is dark as hell.
I think this is where I lost track. They've done Ellie wrong. Okay, it's hard for me to say that, but I'm so serious. They've done Ellie wrong. For some reason, this version of Ellie is like, it's not Ellie. It's so bizarre. Like, and she's trying really hard too, Bella. But I don't think the writing was sufficient for her, like her performance. I think they screwed her with the writing. Like I don't know. I don't know that there's anything necessarily wrong with her being cast, because when I saw when I saw episode 6, I remember being like, oh, that's weird. Like, this is the best I've ever like seen her. That's really intense. And it just goes to show, like, it's what a great director can do. It can do miracles, by God. But it's like, damn, not only should every other episode be directed by Neil, regardless of what he says, it's scary how, like, intuitive he is, but, like, it just, it's, they're doing this weird sanitized version of Ellie is what I'm trying to tell you. Like, it's not Ellie. Bella's trying hard, but the writing is failing her, and it's like I don't know. It's a weird, like, someone said something like Ellie would never give like a public speech, and I think she did in the show somewhere. I'm blanking on where this is.
Jackson.
In Jackson, yeah, I think it was in Jackson, and I was like, oh fuck, that's an interesting point. But anyways, I need to hone in what I'm thinking. But yeah,
I mean, I get what you're saying. I agree. I have the same con as you. Where like I think Bella feels like Ellie. I just think, and I talked about last episode, that this Ellie feels too much like part 1 Ellie, where part 2 Ellie is a very different character than part 1 Ellie. And I said too, like, I even think to a fault sometimes in part 2 that she feels so different than how she did in part 1 that she's almost recognizable, which I think was also by design, but I think I took a little too far in part 2 at times. Where I thought this one they were trying to even it out a little bit, but they evened it out too far in the other direction, where she's not dark enough. And I thought maybe we would get there after the Nora scene. And then I even thought a little bit after the scene in the dressing room where she's like, like, it was easy for me. I really didn't have a problem. I just kept hurting her. And I was like, okay, we're kind of getting somewhere. All right, she's fucked up. Like, all right, we're getting there. And then, like, I think this is where the pacing kind of kicks in a little bit, where like I think if the episode was longer, because I was sitting there thinking, I was like, day 3, the whole day is pretty much spent trying to get to Abby. Where in this, it was like
an afternoon.
It was an afternoon, and I was like, all right. I mean, and it went a little too smoothly. Like I know she just kind of luckily finds a boat, gets on the boat. She gets hit by the wave, which I thought was cool, but then she randomly ends up on the Scar Island, which, to be honest, I thought was a complete waste of time. I mean, like, I get what they were going for, where it's like, oh, she wanted to save the Scar kid earlier on, and then how ironic is it that a little kid, Scar, is the one basically sentencing her to death? Like, I was like, all right, that's ironic, and it's an eye-opener for sure, but I was like, but does this really service anything?
Dude,
no, it really doesn't.
Yeah. I know what they're trying to do, and it's supposed to be, the two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, and it's
later
like,
on,
but there's enough. It's enough. Now I feel like it's starting to get hit over the head. Where it's like, okay, dude, like I get it. Like, especially when we know that Mel is coming in this episode, we don't need more mirroring. Like we know, like
it's there.
So that to me, I was like, this is a little repetitive. Like, is it kind of cool to see the visual of Ellie getting strung up? Like, sure, but we're gonna see it in season 3. Spoiler with Abby. And we already saw it with the random people in the woods and in the TV station. So I was like, so this to me, that scene when I was watching, I was like, that felt very out of place, very unnecessary. I was like, we could have, even though it was only like 2 minutes maybe, I was like, we could have spent that doing something else. Because I thought back in the game where it's like, how tense it is when you actually get the boat. You're surrounded by the WLF in that mall, and you could just fucking murder everybody there and get the boat. They try to stealth and get the boat and get out. And then when you're driving around on the boat, and then you have that drive-through pass where they're shooting at WLF and they're in that little office building. And like, I was like, we could have done that stuff instead of her just randomly washing ashore on the island. I thought that was a little unnecessary. And I think that's what I was talking about, where like this episode almost felt like more set up for season 3 than like ending season 2. Because to me, the only point of that was to show that like the war is starting with like the WLF and the Scars, and then you get the shot of her on the boat. And it is cool to get the shot of like the island just like fucking blowing up and in flames and stuff behind. But at the same time, it's like, do we really need that? Because like we're gonna see all of that. Like I get that they're really laying the groundwork for what's gonna happen in season 3, but I almost thought it was to a detriment of this episode, where I was like, that felt unnecessary. I would have rather have seen Ellie like lean into that, like, yeah, like it was easy for me. Like, let me see her murder some wolves to get that boat. Let me see her maybe drive through that Scar and Wolf thing. I don't need her to stop at the arcade, but I wouldn't have minded her getting stopped at that arcade and get the bloater. I know that's not necessary. It's mostly like a gameplay section just to see her fight a bloater. But like someone said in chat, we didn't see a Shambler this season, which I thought was pretty disappointing. So I thought that could have been a cool way to maybe show the Shambler instead of the bloater.
Damn,
change
we
it to the
didn't?
first Shambler.
No.
I
for sure thought they were gonna like tee it up because
Yeah.
they already set up something else that's a
Yeah, we're
way
gonna get
bigger,
something way worse in season
way
3.
bigger of a swing, and I just like I
So-
was shocked they didn't do the Shambler.
Damn,
So when
we
I
didn't
s-
get a Shambler? God
No.
damn, why didn't
So-
they do that?
So when I sat
Lord.
back and thought about it, I was like, maybe she does get stuck at that arcade for a second, and the Shambler's there, and that's your Shambler for the season. That's it. So that whole detour with the scars and stuff, I thought was very unnecessary, even though it does feed into the conversation that her and Jesse have later on. But
Bro, it
I
was
don't know.
random as hell. You talking about when they almost hung Ellie? Is that what you're talking
yeah,
about?
that didn't need to be there at all. Yeah, like
That shit felt fucking even if I
It
never
was
like
random,
again
very random.
forget about the game. But like what if I had never been to the game? I would still be like, what the fuck?
And like
What
I get
was
it too,
that?
because Neil, I think in the behind the scenes said, "Oh, well, there was a section of the game that got cut out where Ellie ends up on the island," and I was like, "Okay, interesting," but like, I can see why I got cut out. We don't really need it. Like, what purpose would it have served in the game? Like, I was like, that's a good cut. Like, we spent so much time there as Abby, and it's maybe the highlight of Abby's entire part of the game for me is all the stuff on the island. So like,
yeah,
I
that's
don't
when
think
I
Ellie
actually
needed to
gave a
go
shit
there.
about that angle.
Yeah, it was awesome, and especially the ending when you're riding through on the horse and everything's going like that shit is in. That's one of the like when I think of The Last of Us, that's one of the moments that sticks out in my head is you're just riding that horse through Abby and Lev, people murdering everywhere, shit on fire, like there's a couple moments in Abby's story where like when I think of The Last of Us, a couple of her main big set pieces pop into my head, and that's the one for me.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't know. To me, that just felt like unnecessary. I would have rather. I don't know. I think they didn't take Ellie dark enough. And one of my concerns going into this season was that I thought season 1 was really toned down violence wise, like very, very toned down. And one of my flaws going into the season, I was like, we need to turn it up. I was like, especially with Joel, like we need to turn it up. Like, and they did for Joel. And they did even for the scars, like you see them getting people's guts ripped out and stuff. But I was like, but we didn't go there with Ellie for some reason.
No.
Yeah.
And like Jarrell said, I prefer the Mel and Owen scene way more in the game. That's actually my biggest flaw for me in this episode is I get what they were doing, and her like asking Ellie to cut the baby and stuff is heartbreaking. Like it's bad, like it's its own type of fucked up, but I liked it way better in the game where like again in the show she's trying to be Joel, like you're gonna point out on the map where they are, and when you point a better match. But I feel like the loss of control is just way more apparent in the video game and goes to show even more like she's not Joel. As much as she tries to be Joel, she's not. Where like this, it was just like, oh, you're gonna point, and then Owen pulls a gun, he shoots her in the throat, and then Ricochet, Mel's dead. Like I don't know, it felt
That's
way
bullshit.
more.
It's
like,
such bullshit, bro.
Yeah,
it's such bullshit. Like Ellie in the game is like this demon that like you're like forced to love because like you've been loved her.
Yeah, you're
you're
programmed.
So you know her making.
I know dead dogs.
Dude, okay, so just to let everybody know, Shimmer's okay, and
Shimmer's okay, and
Shimmer's still okay.
I forget the name of the dog.
Alice.
Yeah, Alice. Yeah, Alice is okay.
There's something I want to say about Shimmer, but I feel like that's a spoiler. So,
and also one thing too, I didn't like the location where the Owen and Mel scene happened. I love that crab door, and I like them being in that big room in the aquarium, and I like the blood trickling in like the water paintings on the floor and stuff. Like that whole scenery, I thought was way better than just this grim lit hallway. That's a real nitpick that I could have looked past, but like. Since that's the scene that kind of stuck out the most for me as being kind of like, no, I like it way more in the game. I was like, you didn't even get this like the scenery right for me. I love that crab door where you just kind of walk in, and I don't know, like that's nitpicky, but like I just
No, bro. Someone on Twitter said something like they they made they were scared to make Ellie unlikable. And I think this is a huge flaw that the show has made, unfortunately. Like Ellie is to many you're meant to sort of like question her. Like you're meant to look at Ellie like
the whole
you're not the same person. You've almost become like this like demon in a way. For real. Like there's moments where she almost feels or maybe just is evil, acting acts of violence that it's hard not to classify as evil in a way. Even if something happened unbeknownst to her, like with the pregnant chick, like there's still like a level of evil there because like those people would still lived had you never been there. So
that's the thing for me with the Mel scene is like she doesn't know she's pregnant when she goes in a video game either. It's just Mel attacks her and she gets a really violent death, and I kind of like it better where like Owen's like last words are like she's pregnant, like he's choking to death, and she has the more like holy fuck, like not the whole like I don't know, like to me I liked how it played out better in the game, and like
because she's meant to be flawed, she's meant to be near evil, but given where we end up with the character, so it's like if you're fundamentally changing the character, you feel where I'm coming from. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
I get where you're coming from, and oh man, I have so many thoughts. But before we go to that, shout out to everybody who's been commenting. Thank you so much. Kiba says Johnny look he's about to cry. JR says I just don't understand why they would need a fourth season. Okay,
they need a fourth season. That's all.
We'll hint at that, and then we'll kind of. I think we should save that for next week's stream where we do the whole season because, folks, that's a whole nother thing that I even want to talk about, like just from a structure level. I'm very interested to see if we can get into that for the season review. But Tegan Neal says, I think that the core issue that Jarrell, Ronan, and Johnny talk about is that in part due to the story being broken into 3 acts, watching it as a whole piece will work much better in its favor. And I know that The Last of Us trying to get a season 4, and season 4 is going to be focused on the Santa Barbara mission. But here's the thing: that Santa Barbara mission is only lasts 30 minutes. Yeah, that's and again, that's some of my stuff.
It's not 30 minutes, but yeah.
It feels, in context, it feels, I don't know if anyone noticed Abby had a mark on her neck in the finale episode. Yes, we did. Yeah. Probably from when she that
was actually what I was looking for. I was looking
no
for
dog killing or horse killing. Yeah.
And I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it.
They're being nice. They're being nice, and Craig, I don't understand that part actually because the game is not nice though.
No, it's not nice.
It's a weird defense, but like the game is not nice. Like these people are not likable in the traditional sense. These are like really thorny, morally aggravating characters that you love, and it's very complex. I've never seen a game do something like that before narratively. I've never had any game affect me like emotionally like that before, or even just like challenge like core beliefs that like I have surrounding the nature of violence. And for the show to fall so short, it's very hard for me to like kind of sugarcoat that, you know what I mean? Like this is really difficult. Like this is like masterwork we're talking about, in my opinion.
I mean, that's the difficult part with adapting part 2. I mean, and to me, it's like I think they fell short, but I don't think they completely missed everything. I'm more frustrated because I think they were almost there with a lot of it, and then it's just like the finale. I was really hoping to take it there. And they started to take it there, I thought, and then they kind of took it back a little bit. And I was like, don't just take it there.
Yeah, that's where I feel with the Mel and Owen scene where like there's stuff leading up to that. I'm like, okay, there's the blood stains. Okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah, that's foundation. That. We need that for when we meet whose blood is that.
There's good setup for part 3 in there. Or season 3. There is.
Yeah, and what I found fascinating is just that like to me, it's so weird because I think that and for most of it, the game did that version that was better. but I liked more. And again, it has to do a lot with Mel is different, at least in what we've been seeing thus far. Is Mel is different in the game. In the game, she's the one who was like, "No, we gotta fucking kill her. Like, that's it."
Yeah.
And what I appreciated appreciating the show is that even though she knew Ellie pulled the trigger, it was all about the kid and be like, "Listen, I know you killed me, and maybe I deserve it, but save my baby." And to me, that segment is what saved that moment for me, at least.
It did.
Like I appreciated that. Like Ellie finally realized, "Yo, you are way over your fucking head. Now save this kid. Do what you can to save this kid." And listen, we can talk about the writing. We'll talk about the writing later on. But like, I have to give Bella their props with that one. That is a lot of being like, I fucking want Abby. You know where she's at. Give it to me. And oh fuck, what I have just done. And then that whole notion of like, okay, how do I do this? I want to save the kid, but I don't know what we're doing, what I'm doing.
One thing I'll give is that like when Ellie says like, or Owen's like, "Oh, she's gonna kill us anyway," and she's like, "No, because I'm not like you people," and like how she's almost like choking up saying it. I actually believed her. I was like, maybe she would. I don't know. Maybe she wouldn't kill them. I think maybe the Nora thing. I think like Troy or someone said in the podcast is like that. Ellie saying that like she wasn't affected by that at all was a lie. And I was like, I could kind of see that too. So like when she said that, I was like, maybe she wouldn't have killed Owen and Mel if they did. Like I don't know. Like so, it's like I appreciate the differences.
But you're fucking up the ending. You're fucking up the ending. You're fucking up where we end. The end point. You're fucking that up. I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it. I appreciate
what they're trying to do. It's just like it's not what I wanted them to do.
And no,
I
appreciate
it. But logically,
what they're doing with this version of the story, it works, and it's good. It's just not what I want. I want what's in the game, and to me, this was honestly the biggest stray away of the whole season. Was this episode where like this was like last episode actually felt almost like the most like the video game to me, and then this episode kind of felt the least like the video game to me. So to have the kind of back and forth of that from episode 6, episode 7 also threw me off a little bit because it felt like go
night and day.
Yeah, like go. We got to wrap this shit up now, and then just the changes they made to me were just unnecessary. Like that's kind of where I'm left. Where like part 1 I think had a lot of changes to me in my opinion that were a little unnecessary. And that's why I still overall like season 2 better than season 1 personally. I know that's a hot take maybe. But this was the first time this season where I was like, man, I just completely prefer the games version of this to what we got in the show. And like I said, I think for what the show is trying to do, it did it well, but it's like it just felt not fully true to the game because I think there is, like we've kind of all been saying, there's just that darkness missing from Ellie that's not there. Like in Ellie in the game, like she feels bad about what happens to Mel and stuff, and she's in shock. But like, I don't know. It just felt. I feel like that.
You're also questioning Ellie. At least I think I'm constantly like around this time in the game. I'm constantly questioning Ellie's morality, despite like my like hatred of this. Blind hatred of this Abby person, because that's the thing that's really propelling me forward is that like
just fuck her, she killed Joel.
Joel's been wronged. I want revenge. Her anger aligns with mine, so I'm able to like just proceed forward regardless of choices that she's making. But she makes certain choices where I'm like, hey, hold on a second. I don't know any other way to describe you better than like a demon or something like that. That's like lost control, because unfortunately in the show she comes across as like a weird, like I don't want to say annoying, but maybe like bratty or something like that, which is not the game
at points. Like oh, because I'm stupid, or oh, because you're a good guy and whatnot. It's like, no, god damn it. It's like which I think that's what was fascinating with me because, and again, it goes to say I feel in the show I feel differently about Mel and like specifically her. I remember in the game I was like, you're a fucking medic. Like what the fuck? Like why were you ready to kill Ellie and like go for this dude and whatnot. And like that's why I felt bad for Mel in the show because she went out her way to ensure Joel like I'm putting Dina to sleep. I promise you, we're not gonna kill her. I'm just putting her. Like, listen. I swear to you, I won't hurt Dina. And and again, this is a little tease for the talk of the season stream, but like I for sure thought with what Gail was talking about, like you think Joel taught her that? No. That's always been in her. Just her and Joel walked in parallels. I thought all those talks and that taste of Nora was gonna give us.
And one thing that's like weird is like because it's just like a randomly popped in my head is like I feel like they tried to do it in a different way where like they tried to make Abby's crew a lot less asshole-ish than they did in the game. Where like Owen and Mel are like actively not for really the Joel situation. Owen wants to leave. Yeah. Mel's just like not really into it at all. Nora and Manny are like the only ones that are kind of in. Like Manny's into it. Nora's like iffy, but she's still into it. And I think they were kind of banking on that to make us feel worse about Ellie instead of showing her doing more bad things, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah,
they tried to humanize Owen and Mel more, and they did a good job at it. But like, I feel like you could have done both. Like, I needed to see Ellie's body count raise a little bit higher. Because really, how many people did she really kill? Like, she killed the one dude in the TV station. Mm-hmm. She kills Nora. Is that it?
No, I don't know. It's not a minute.
Yeah.
Then Mel. Yeah, Mel and Owen, obviously.
But here's the thing.
The Mel is like an accident. It's not even like.
And I get it because it's a video game, so like you have to kill people in the video game, so it also feels a lot more like just mean and personal in the game because you're the one personally.
It's direct in the game. It's direct in the game.
But I for sure thought could have just put more.
Dude, I for sure thought this finale was gonna be an hour and a half long. And I for sure thought by after Nora, I for sure thought we were gonna get and again, that's not saying I want gameplay in every fucking episode. Like, I'm not saying that, but like to me, the segment you could have done in some manner, 20, 30 minutes, and you pace it right, is Crest Hill. You get fucking Ellie with the bow and arrow against the Seraphites, and then you see the totality of what she's done with the Seraphites, and then what the representation of the wolf are with Abby's crew. And I for sure thought they were going to do that. And it's like in Crest Hill, you bump into the Shambler. It's a whole other thing of like another angle with the infected of like, okay, it's not just stalkers we got to worry about. But we got to worry about these fucking Shamblers now. And you could have used that segment as of like turning Ellie's pettiness on the Seraphites to be like, oh, fuck, they're just as brutal and blunt as the wolf are. And that's why,
and Hillcrest in the game is where Jesse comes in too.
Yes, and like I for sure and again that's why I'm okay with season one. I love season one is that like they hold it back on the violence. I'm like, okay, that's a choice. I respect it because each time there was violence, it was impactful. Mm-hmm. But in part two, television wise, you gotta crank that shit up to 11, not 10, not 9, not 7, 11. That's exactly
what I was saying. And I feel like they did and they didn't.
Yeah.
Well, they did, but they did it once. And they only did it when Joel died.
And even when Nora was getting tortured, it was different because by the time we're playing the game, I was quick to be like, square, let's do it again. And then when they cut to black, I'm like, fuck, you gave me 5 seconds with Nora, but you gave me fucking 15 minutes with Joel's death. And that's why I felt like, and again, structure is a whole other thing that's a whole podcast. I would just want to talk to Craig and you and Hallie back. Let's talk about just structure. Fuck everything else. Let's just talk about structure and how long that take you to come up with the choice of 7 episodes where this feels like an 8 episode. And people would have been like, oh, that's just a shootout episode. Like, no, that's the metamorphosis episode that involves a shootout. I think
that's what's missing.
And you see that metamorphosis with Nora, but like I feel like I think it really would have helped one more episode or like an hour more of television to like let it simmer of like her, and it would have helped because it was impactful seeing the scars in her back,
Yeah.
But I didn't feel
Scars from what? Scars
That's-
from what? Where'd
that's
she
what
get these goddamn
that's what I-
scars from?
I was
That's what I'm
thinking that too,
saying.
because I was like, it makes sense in the game because she fucking falls down the floor of the hospital and like, you know, all the combat you do in the like,
And the Chris
it
still
made
like
more
moving.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I liked it, that shot and that scene just because it's one of my favorite scenes in the game. But
it wasn't earned
I
all the
thought
way.
that too when she took her shirt off. I was like, I thought the same thing. Like, where the fuck did all those bruises come from, bro?
And where does
fall to the
this?
floor or anything? And then
Where
I
is
didn't
this?
get my shot that I wanted. Like I was a little pissed about that too. And then
Don't
honestly,
they kiss?
we haven't
Don't
talked about this
they kiss
either.
in there?
How do we feel about Ellie just outing Joel to Dina? I don't know how I feel about that either. It's interesting, and I appreciate what it does for their dynamic. But I was like, dude, I don't know. I was like, I don't know if you should be saying this right now, Ellie. I don't know. That caught me really off guard. I was like, what the fuck?
If you consider like the last 15 minutes, like I don't want to say 30, but like, let's say like the last 15 minutes of the game, period, right? Like cutscene wise, do you think these changes in the show make sense for where we are heading? Because obviously Craig he can try to like soften this ending, which bizarrely it seems like he's trying to, and let's not talk about that. But he's like trying to soften this ending that like we kind of like have to get to in broad terms. Which also makes Abby's physical size very like this is already a tiny person. But anyways, yeah.
It feels like you're adding homework on another project you didn't need to like add on if you would have done it here instead. Like now it's like, okay, season 3, you better go balls to the wall. And what's going to be sucking is that people, if we come out of season 3, people are like, oh, it was just shoot 'em up season. And that's where people are going to take away most of it. It's like, no, we need a little bit of that shoot 'em up when we're in the first few days of Seattle to feel it that way. And I know it's supposed to be more grounded element, but like,
and to be honest too, like Abby's section of the game isn't as shoot 'em up as Ellie's, because Ellie is on a blood trail. Abby's not. She's just kind of
getting to a section.
A lot of Abby's encounters are with infected or the occasional Seraphites every now and then, like when she gets captured and stuff like that. But it's mostly infected and traversing and stuff. Like the Sky Bridge, and like it's a lot of infected. Like Abby's very infected heavy, where Ellie's just on a fucking bloodlust for everyone pretty much. Like, so I don't know. Like, it's to answer Jarrell's question. Like, I still see the ending getting to where we need it to be. It's just gonna be different. Like,
and you need more violence in season 3 and potentially season 4. You're gonna need it. Like, even if we get to Santa Barbara and we get to that side in Cali, we need to spend time there, and it better be a bloodshed. Like to really feel.
They really gotta amp up. Like Ellie's going back out there again.
And I for sure thought they were gonna do the inverse. They want to be like, all right, we're gonna have violence with Ellie, have violence with Abby, and then by the time we get to Santa Barbara and at the end, you're gonna have violence, but we're gonna be too tired of it and be like, no, Ellie, it's enough. Like, let go of this already, because that's how I felt playing the game.
Violent. Yeah, it's just relentless. It's just like you get the little much needed breather at the farmhouse.
Yes.
Because it's like you hit the peak of violence in the game pretty much at the theater and everything leading up to that. And then you get the breather and then you crank it back up again to the finale where like I don't know, like it's just like that's a good point. Like the show just isn't as relentless as the game. And again, it's because they cut out a lot of the gameplay sections, which I understand because you're not playing a game, you're watching a show. But when you're telling a revenge story that's focused on violence, you need more violence. You just do.
Yeah.
The Last of Us is extraordinarily violent. Like it's like on the scale of 1 to 10 of violence, it's a fucking 20. Like it's insanely violent.
That's why The Revenant is such a great like revenge story, because it's only 2 hours and change, and there's only maybe a big violent moment, and then it's just a bunch of melee combat in it. But you feel after that big battle the violence, and that's what's gonna feel. I think it might in the long term hurt this adaptation of part 2 is that by the time we get to Abby's section, it's going to be the whole war and the whole battle. But then where does that leave Ellie's perspective with her scars and whatnot? Like, and what's going to like not help? Maybe it might. Who knows? We'll see when we get there. But like, Abby's a soldier, so it's just another Tuesday for her.
Yeah.
But
And
Ellie's she's supposed to have had this like bloodlust, which is so vital to how we leave Ellie ultimately. And to sort of like change that up is sort of like, what are you doing? Like, do you know what you're doing? Is that the actual problem? You look like you're making mistakes that you're not even like aware of, you know what I mean? Because Ellie is such a specific character, man. Like, you know, you make certain changes and like, it's like, who am I looking at?
Yeah. I listen. So before we go further, I want to just give a shout out to the comments. T. O'Neill says that I think had these episodes not been 45 to 60 minutes, but 70 to 80 minutes in length and pacing, this season would have been better. That's a valid point to have. I feel like TLOU 2 just works so well as a game, it can't be as impactful as a show. So I was on board with them changing things, but the changes they made mostly felt like downgrades to me. The first part I disagree with, but the second part I can understand. I think you could have done it with the show or not.
100%.
It's just the mapping out was different and whatnot. Last of Us Season 2 averaged 37 million viewers compared to average 32 for the first season. So that is good at least.
That is good.
That's valid. But now I'm worried about Season 3 because even me who knows to it, like I was going, fuck, I'm going to have a drink every night going through that week just to get through most of that side of that story because I'm not a big fan of that side of the story.
So Ronan,
yes.
I can't say Chernobyl is for real. I can't stress this. Is one of the darkest shows I've ever watched in my entire life. That show caught me off guard. Bad. Caught me off guard.
Dude, the scene when the guys go into the place and like the lights go on, you just hear the cranking of the meter marking out all the radiation. That is one of the most harrowing things I've ever seen in my fucking life. And hearing and seeing.
The visual of all like the burn victims and stuff.
Yes.
Shit I'll see in my nightmares for the rest of my life.
Yes.
It is haunting like, visuals.
The thing that's bugging me is like this game, even though it's fictional, it should be as dark, if not darker, than Chernobyl. And the fact that it is not, I feel like it's such a fundamental misreading of the show that is hard to articulate for me at the current time. Like Chernobyl genuinely bothers me for sure. Like I was trying to watch it for a second time, like not even that too long ago. I was like, man, I don't know if I can. Like it really it bothers me in such a core level. When those firefighters are trying to douse out these flames on this roof at the beginning of episode 1, it's just like the fact that they even stepped over a boundary that they exceeded a long time ago, and they're beyond fucked. It's already too late. They don't even realize it's already too late. So horrifying to me. Despite their bravery, it's just like, the game has moments of darkness that are like that or exceed that, and the fact that for some reason the show is like thinking otherwise is like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and how does it? I'll say this:
the constructometer of violence, pretty much. We just need that cranked up all the way.
Yeah,
and there's not even enough time on the clock to remedy this.
Yeah, and that's why it's a very juxtaposition feeling for me because, to me, I felt like the opening was good, of this episode because it's Dean and Jesse, and they're sort of trying their best not to let out the info yet. Yo, fuck, we're gonna be parents, and it's even heartbreaking now because you know what's gonna happen to Jesse and him doing bad stuff I got you, and then pushing the arrow through her leg instead of pulling it out, which is fucking brutal as hell. Yeah. And again, it's weird with the pacing feels a little off, but yet every time Jesse and Ellie were together, I felt like, okay, good, they're letting a lot of stuff out. And even that moment of him talking about the girl he did love. Mm-hmm. And why he let her go and the responsibilities and the way he was raised and whatnot, that, I want to give props to young Messina. A huge shout out of honoring what Jesse in the game did and whatnot. I'll mention the actor and whatnot, but like,
Yeah, he
Aren't they supposed to be
elevated Jesse.
friends though? Am I missing
That's-
something? Aren't they supposed to be fucking friends in the goddamn game? How
that's
come
the
in the show they're like fucking? It's like someone was aiming for that, but weirdly they become more like
siblings.
Yeah, they're more like a
antagonize it.
brother-sister, yeah.
But they're sort of like antagonizing each other. You're supposed to like love Joel and or fucking Jesse, and anytime that they're around each other, you're supposed to be, oh my goodness, like clearly these are like great friends, like, you know what I'm saying, they love each other. But in the show, it's a bit strained.
Yeah, it feels, and I listen, Young Messino, I love what he did. Like, but and I love that he was very much bringing up like, what about this perspective? And him and Dina, it was like, think about what you're gonna do. What about this and this? Is you take this into consideration? And him being like, listen, I'm telling you as a friend, like this is why we got to get out, and this is why we're doing this way. Stephen A. Chang is Jesse who plays Jesse in the game. So shout out to him for bringing it there. But like, yeah, in the game, he has all this stuff into consideration, and that's why it's kind of heartbreaking in the game more that like when he dies is because he had her back, checking on her, you okay? And I like, thanks for coming back for me. And it's to me, and it sucks that we didn't get it, but it's that line, my friend's problems are my problems. And that was the homie like
I was waiting
code there for me that I was looking for, and like we didn't get it, but like. Yeah, again, it's another thing of what would have maybe benefited another episode or two of like you get your moment with the bleak violence, and you get the moment of like these are homies. There's a reason why these three are friends.
That's kind of my problem. Is I feel like the structure of the days in the show didn't really make the most sense to me, because I feel like day 1 was good. Day 2 was also pretty good because it had its own episode, and then it even bled into the beginning of this one, and also the end of last one. But then day 3, it's just like it just did not have enough time. And day 3, I feel like is definitely Ellie's longest day, probably, because I mean that's the whole journey to Abby. There's a lot going on in day 3. Like you start off with Jesse. Then you break off and you do a bunch of stuff by yourself. You end up at the aquarium and then you end up back at the theater. So like day 3 is a lot. And shortening it to like half an episode and, cutting away to the Scar Island and even cutting away to Isaac, I was like, yeah, like I don't know. Like
the pieces were right for me. The pieces were right. It's just that like the timing, and by the time we're at in this season, it felt off.
Yeah,
getting those pieces set.
Like
dude, Isaac's scenes. Oh god, it feels so weird to say this, but like I've mentioned this before, but for some reason Isaac's scenes continue to feel sort of adjacent to just like kind of dull moments on The Walking Dead. Like The Walking Dead, like the Walking Dead. Weirdly, after God, I forgot which season now. Maybe 5 or 6, something like that. But like from that point onwards, The Walking Dead just like out of nowhere just opened up to like groups, but like groups, and like many of them did not land as hard as many people we've been following like this whole time, or even storytelling when we were even in like prison days of The Walking Dead, for God's sakes. But anyway. But yeah, that's what it reminds me of, like those different fractions in The Walking Dead, which is like such a weird thing. I should not be thinking that way. Okay, The Last of Us is very distinctive. All right.
I don't know, dude. That like to me, like I don't know about you, Johnny, but like to me, I prefer this Isaac than the game Isaac.
Way
more, and like that's what is.
Like story-wise or like performance-wise? What do you mean?
Everything, dude. Like there was so much. Like the opening scene, the cold opening with him and the wolf trainees is already way more than what we got in the game in terms of gameplay.
Isaac has like hype up moments throughout the game of like, you hear about him and stuff, and then you get one scene with him talking to Abby and Manny. And they get to see where he fucking dies on the island. That's literally it.
Were you talking about where he throws a grenade in the fucking that shit was dope, I'm not gonna lie.
That's the thing that like you have to scavenge, and that's the difference between game and adaptation of either movie or film. It's just like in the show, we don't have time to find notes like,
Yeah.
oh, this is who Isaac is.
And,
like, all right,
and
you
even in
need
the
this stuff.
game, like environmental storytelling is good for people like Ish and for like the archer guy in Hillcrest and stuff
Background.
like that. Like background characters. Environmental storytelling is great for that. But for when it's someone super impactful to the story of the game, it just left me very unsatisfied with Isaac in the game. That was like my biggest flaw with the game, honestly, was like you build up Isaac the whole game. He has maybe 5 minutes of screen time and that's it. And he does nothing except just be like a military guy. I was like, so it's just
yeah,
maybe
the presentation is I suppose better.
So like I'm basically like I'm walking away from this season with some of the same flaws that I did with season 1. Where season 1, I was like, season 1 needed to have an extra episode or two. It needed to be more violent. It needed more infected. More infected got scratched off the list. I think they did a good job with the infected. I just would have liked to have seen a shambler. But overall, I got more infected. I was very happy with the use of infected in this season. This to me was a better balance of infected, much better than season 1. Where like I felt like you could go like 3 episodes without seeing an infected. It's like boom, boom, and then boom for like the infected, or even boom, boom in like the first season, and they're just nowhere to be found. Like, so that was a big flaw in season 1. I feel like it was addressed here. And the violence I thought was being addressed because I thought they made Joel's death way more gruesome in the show actually than in the game. And even some moments in the, like the Seraphite stuff, like seeing the gut, like the TV station, like the gutting in the woods, like that's the part where I'm like frustrated with this finale because it's like it was a layup and then they took it away. It's like they gave it and took it and gave it and took it. So I'm still have that criticism
of politics with violence.
Yeah. And I for sure thought it was like we were going there because it was perfect layup. It was like, all right, you tease us with the station. And then that's it. And then now I'm not gonna say I'm worried, but I'm just saying like, okay, now in season 3, you gotta cover Abby's angle. And then I'm pretty sure they're gonna give us more lore with the Seraphites. It's like, all right, how much more lore of the Seraphites we're gonna get? Are we gonna meet the Messiah? Are we gonna meet her? Are we gonna feel her love? Like,
I think Craig I think he said it in the podcast, like we are gonna meet the Prophet, which is cool. I'm very interested in that. It's just like,
how much is that gonna take away from Abby's?
Yeah, so it's like,
do people care? Do people care? Are people going to care? But like the non-gamers.
That's
it's like
the non-gamers, bro.
Gamers will care about season 3. Like,
okay,
even, but for the casual viewers, I don't
2
know.
years from now? 2 years from now. You're asking these niggas 2 years from now, hey, but guess what? Pedro, he's dead. Oh yeah, guess what? You like Jesse? He's dead, bud. Okay?
And
you know what we got for you?
You gotta spend time with the person who killed both of them.
Yeah. I mean, so this is the part where, like, where gamers that were playing the game got pissed off, and this was going to happen with the show. You're going to have people like us, where we continued the game, even though we weren't necessarily happy about it. We got through it. We saw the big picture. It's a lot of people that hit that Abby section, and we're like, "Nah, I'm done." I'm out. So it's going to be the same thing with the show. Some people are going to be into the big picture and be like, "Okay, let's see what they do." And then some people will be like, nah, fuck this, I'm out. So they're kind of left in the same position of the game. It's just I don't know. It's a harder sell, I think, to maybe to TV show fans, to video game fans, because like also you got to think about it in the sense of like when you're playing the video game, the ending is right there in front of you. You just have to get through it to get to it. So you can have the big picture if you get through that part. Like Jarrell said, you have to wait 2 years to get to this Abby part. And then you have to wait another 2 years to get to the ending. So like it's a much bigger commitment where like if like I did it, I sat down and played Abby's part and the Santa Barbara part in one sitting on one stream. It took me fucking 12 hours and I was mentally exhausted and definitely needed therapy after. Mm-hmm. And I lost all liquid in my body from tears and stuff. But I mean, like, I did it. I wasn't really even happy about it. There was points on my stream where I was fucking flipping out, like raging. I was like, I can't fucking stay playing as this bitch. I'm fucking done. Like I was getting pissed, but I did it. Like, but TV show fans, you don't have the luxury of just sitting there doing a marathon and going through it. You have to wait for it to come out. So it is different in that sense too. So I don't know. That's my long-winded way of saying I don't fucking know, pretty much.
Dog,
But-
when I was at season 2 of The Walking Dead, okay, I don't care what anyone says, okay, I loved The Walking Dead, okay.
Season 2 of The Walking Dead's great.
My nigga Shane, my fucking boy
Herschel.
Rick. You know what I'm saying? Fuck. What was homie's name? Meryl. What's
Merle,
his fucking
yeah.
name?
Myrtle.
Yeah. I mean, just so many like, God, there's just so many great characters in this show. Has like nothing like that, and you're asking people to wait 2 years after that, bro.
I don't know. I'm curious to see how he feels about having to wait 2 years for season 3 about it. But let's see if we can get his thoughts on the finale with Samuel again. How you doing, Samuel?
Oh, Mr. Leggett.
What's going on, guys? How y'all doing?
It's a lot, dude. It's a lot. A lot of questions are pondering, and yet I don't know how we feel. I mean, what we do, it was a swing. This finale's pacing, runtime, and choices were a swing. How do you feel about the finale as a whole, and where we go from here?
Oh, I loved it. It's freaking fire. I loved it. I'll expound on that though. Truth be told, going into second season, I knew for a fact that there's no way for them to sufficiently end a first season, even if they were doing 12 or 10 episodes. It was not going to be something that I felt like was going to be gratifying to fans, because it's not a pinpoint location within the second game. You just like intermission. No, even technically, you could call the transition, right, going over to Abby's story, like the technical transition, but it really ain't, because they go back and forth between time gaps. Even if they're introducing the person that Abby connects with for the rest of her journey, I mean, there wouldn't have been a perfect way of being able to light it over. So for me, like, I don't really have an issue where they kind of landed it, because it was never going to land well anyway. I do see one of the critiques that I've heard people say is that it felt like Ellie went a lot more hard in the game than she did in the show. I've heard a lot of people say that, expound on that. I think that there's a difference in playing a game versus watching a show, because honestly, after they killed Joel, for me, my body count was up there. Whether they were humans, whether they were infected, I vengefully killed people. So I know my body count was over the hundreds. So in my mind, I was like, man, I killed all these people. I feel terrible about what I did. But I did, at the time, it was an emotion, right? So when you're playing the game and your interpretation of what that looks like is far different. Yes, they could have had her mowing through a little bit more of the WLF. They could have had her going and doing a lot more other things if time allowed that. It didn't. But I think that the core themes, which was very interesting, I think the hardest part was watching Ellie kill the girl that was pregnant. And we had that debate.
Mel?
We all had that conversation, because I was one of the ones that was like, she didn't even try. And I was like, was part of her mind still thinking about what they did to Joel? Or was it just the shock of the fact that, I mean, she's going to screw this up one way or another? I don't know. But I love getting to her psychology emotionally with that versus like, boom, 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 it's done. So I'm indifferent with it, because I've always looked at this show as an extension. One of the things I always value about Jarrell's initial sentiments on the show was, should there be a show if the game is perfect? Or the perspective of people's ideas of the games are perfect. A lot of people don't like the second game because it emotionally triggers and traumatizes them. There are people in this stream are still triggered and traumatized by this game. And yet, there are fans out there that are just as triggered, but they're like, no, give me the trauma. It should be the same amount of trauma. And you're never gonna satisfy everybody. So for me, from what the effort that they gave, and that we got this as an extension and an adaptation, I think it still gives me all the core emotions and all the connective tissues of things that I wanted from the game that I couldn't because I was in the midst of it. I think that, having time to reflect on this game and also having time to reflect on the show, I really do appreciate it. I appreciate it more. I mean, again, Rand, I've only seen the episode twice and I've only seen the show once going over it, but I really do appreciate the efforts that they're going with this. There could be some nitpicks I have here or there, but I'm good, bro. I ate well. Set design alone, acting alone. I mean, they went leaps and bounds more than you can expect for a video game adaptation. I don't care who you are trying to gauge or judge or put more into emphasis on it should have been this, it should have been that. We've heard that before and we've begged for that before, and we get nowhere near touching what this is. I think what would be a better conversation is the game in and of itself something that is adaptable? Is it something that can be truly adapted in the way that you're emotionally wanting?
Yes.
That's more of a question than anything. And to me, I don't think it should. So it's like I don't have any dog in the fight either way. I mean, anything y'all want to talk about it, I mean, we can go through whatever, but I'm all with it. I can't wait for the next season. It's gonna take some time, but I can't wait for it.
I'm pretty much in the same exact ballpark as Sam, but I am also the fucked up fan where I want the same trauma as the game, so I would have liked a higher body count. That's like the only thing. Like, I feel like I've come off very negative this stream towards the episode.
No.
I'm just fucked up. I wanted the violence. I just wanted the violence amped up a little bit. And I said it, I think, in another episode. Like, I look at the show kind of like how Sam said, as like a companion piece of the game. So if I want to get my body count up, I could just load up part 2, murder a bunch of fuckers, and go watch the show and be content.
I might do that.
and I've honestly been thinking about doing it. I might. Yeah. Like, I don't know. But like, that's my only critique that I'm saying, is that I would have liked to see more murder because I'm a fucked up horror movie fan that loves my carnage candy. I would have loved to have seen Ellie just run up the body count.
And
it would have been more accurate to the game. But like I was saying earlier, I feel like for what they're doing with this interpretation of the game, for this story, everything's worked. I haven't had a problem with any of that. It's just me being fucked up and wanting more damage.
The nitpicks are valid.
This is what I was trying to tell them, Sam. Okay, like, my biggest problem is that regardless of what happens next, okay, Craig is going to arrive us at the same places that we were at, which is roughly within the last 15 minutes of the game period. Okay, like before you see the end credits. Okay, so if that's where we're going, because we have to go there, especially if you consider the places where Craig was like, yeah, it's important that we go here. It's important that Joel actually does die, in the game, blah, blah, blah. If that's in fact where we're going, do these changes make sense for where we are going? My argument, unfortunately, is no. These changes do not make sense. And to take a step further, like I was telling them as well, just to get your thoughts because you weren't here, another pressing issue is Ellie. I think that Bella is giving Ellie all that she's probably humanly got, which I will always applaud. However, the writing and Ellie's performance are just not meshing well for me. And clearly this is happening for many people. I mean, people are with pitchforks, after I think the second episode or something. It's actually kind of impressive, the hatred. It's an interesting echo of the game. But regardless, I just don't know that the changes they've made so far make sense to where we're going. Because Craig, you're not gonna fool me. That's where we're going. A. And B, this Ellie in the show feels like not Ellie to me. It's close, but it's just what in God's name, especially since we're already at the day one Abby shit, right? Already it's what in God's name, the bloodlust that should be there for Ellie has not been there. How are you gonna remedy this? But yeah, those 2 points. Thoughts?
So, I think it's two different truths. I don't blame Bella's performance at all. They wrote all the dialogue that was in this. She didn't improvise any of this. This isn't like her decision.
I do
have moments where she's joking with Dina more than she would with the game, or more serious in the game at a certain sentiment, when in this she's a lot more emotionally guarded, right? That is Neil and Craig's decision, and they're well within their rights to do that, right? One, do I think that she's doing a good performance? Yes. I think her best performance, honestly, was the episode 6 and episode 5 was, to me, two of her best performances. The moment in 2, probably her most emotionally vulnerable, right? Everything else is, to me, been a facade, in the sense that we don't really know the deep levels of how messed up this kid really is. I still don't think we know. But I'll say this. I'm looking at this as an observer of what they're trying to tell versus comparing it to the game. And that's a hard thing to do, because I've seen what the game has done. I know what the game has done to me. I know what the game has done to Ronan, right? To all of us technically in this stream, right? So it's a hard sell. It's kind of like if you're, the book readers, right? You read a book, you know exactly what it did, what it was.
The manga's better, yeah.
Right, and then all of a sudden you get the anime or the show or the movie or whatever, and you're like, it didn't hit this beat and hit this beat. You misvalued this. I've seen people that are manga readers critique an anime for a specific moment. It's like, this was crucial to the development of the characters' identification of who they are. Just a panel. So
we're going to the same place. We're going to the same place.
I'm saying that at the end of the day, what they're trying to do here is evidently different than what they're trying to do with this show. They've made that specific trust. I'm just like I trusted them going from the first game to the second game. I had to do the same thing with the first season to this season. I'm trying to trust the process of where we're going, because we all know, and again, this is spoilers, so we can talk anything. We all know that moment in the water where half of us are like, kill her. What are you talking about? Let me, as the gamer playing this, be able to do this. Regardless of value, regardless of what your interpretation, let me make that choice. Some of us would literally be like, no, how dare you go through all this? Some of us at the barn, we were like, no, Ellie, don't leave. I don't care what Tommy's telling you. Like, no, you have a responsibility now. Don't go back. And when she left, we had to deal with those circumstances, right? As people that are playing it, like it was like happening to us or happening to our sister. In this is very just different. Like, we're having to actually watch this maneuver forward in a completely different lens, in a completely different way. And I don't know how they intend to interpret our experience. Because at the end of the day, that's what it all kind of boils down to. Neil is not stupid. Craig isn't stupid either. They're intentionally allowing us to go through it this way for a reason. And I just have to trust the process. If you don't want to trust the process, that's fine with anybody. Anybody that's listening to this right now, whether it's Sherelle or anybody else here, you don't have to. You can watch something else, or you can give it time and see if it works. If it don't, and we've seen lesser shows. This is not a lesser show. What we want Watchmen, the show. We want greatness. We want to see something that's a benchmark. We don't want, what Westworld did to us. I get it. I understand it. That's me being very open with you guys. But there are, to what Jarrell's saying, there are certain specific emotional beats that are pivotal, that have to be set up with a good foundation. And one of the things that we did, and I mean, he said it like, bro, my body count was crazy. My ledger was dripping with blood, and I did not care. And this is the weird thing, though. At a certain point, when I was playing as Abby, when I got to live and the other one, I'm not going to go into all that. There's something that happens with that. And I was like, oh, I'm killing everybody. I can't stand another death. Like, and I just went off. Like, I remember it like it was yes. I was like, bro, I'm Abby. I'm murking everybody. Like, I was like, I just couldn't stand it. And there's certain moments like that you have to be able to connect and make it feel like it's happening to you. One thing with the game, that's easy because you're literally having to be forced to go through it. Watching it through a focal lens, the only way to make that work, you have to connect with the person. And you have to connect with the actor. You have to connect with the situation. And I mean, for people that are non-gamers, they're experiencing the same exact way we played the game. I haven't seen one person or talked to one person that hasn't experienced it the same way we do with the game. The only issue is for them is we got to keep going. But I don't know anybody that isn't ready for the third season. It's unfortunate, but they got to wait. Some people say the same thing about Stranger Things. They ended Stranger Things the way they did. It was like, wait, I got to wait 4 years for this? But I guarantee you this. Day one it come on. I bet you they're going to be there. They're going to be at 31st looking at them, looking at that trailer. And
it's easier. It's easier for people with Stranger Things. There's like multiple characters that they care for, though.
No,
on a way deeper level. What the fuck? What do these people have with the show? What do they have outside of Ellie? What, Dina?
It's not easier.
There's like 7 niggas you could like name from like Stranger Things, regardless of what happened that season. It's like, regardless of what happened, it's like, hey, at least there's like 9 niggas I care about. Like,
but no, it's not easier because the thing about it with Stranger Things, and let's keep it a book, there are certain key characters that we love at each season that's beloved and they die. It's not like, oh, wait, one of the kids are going to die. In this show, characters like Game of Thrones that you value go.
I'm with you.
No, but just listen to me. There are people that were rallying behind Jesse. Once I forgot. I was talking to somebody. They were like, "Yo, I love Jesse. Like Jesse is gonna be like somebody said something's gonna happen to Tommy, and Jesse's gonna have to pick up the ring." And I was like, "Oh man, they don't even know what the hell's going on." And I'm watching them, and so then they watched it, and they were just broken. They couldn't believe it. So I'm telling you, I mean, you've gone through the game, so you know. But I'm telling you, there are people that they're used to, like, oh, well, you got this benchmark. Like, these are people that are untouchable. That's not how this works.
No, I'm with you there.
Works.
No. I'm with you there. I'm just saying, as we go into the next season of both shows, Sam, people have a vested interest in like multiple other people in Stranger Things. Okay, that you almost like objectively just cannot say that about The Last of Us. Okay, you can't just like you're not going into season 3 like, hey, Jesse's dead. Hey, Pedro's dead. But guess what? There's like 3 other Pedros. There's like 5 other Jesse's. Like, no, fuck.
Which is why it's a big like swing for them to do this, and the hurdle is now like that's your big homework. You got to make us non-gamers care to sit with the crew and the lady who killed 2 of our favorite characters. Now it's not just Joel, it's Jesse now, and I think that's why I'm very interested to see how they're gonna write the crew, and not only that, how much time they're gonna spend with the Seraphites, and see how much they're gonna maybe try to make us care for the Seraphites more than we ever did in the games.
Yeah, it's
outside of the two factors that I'm waiting for. That's my hope right there. I'm like, okay, that I can't wait to see where we go. That everything else,
and then even in the game too, like it's the same thing. Where like,
right.
I don't know, like it's like I'm trying to think of how to describe. Like it's, to me at least, The Last of Us Part 2 is more about, I'm not thinking about seeing like where the characters go. I'm thinking about seeing where the story goes. Like what is going to happen.
Right.
True, but this is another thing that
like,
Sam
in Part 1, even if we're saying that too, like Ellie is more unlikable in the video game of Part 2 than she's in the show. But I was still willing to see where Ellie was going to end up in the video game, hoping that maybe she'd get better. which got worse probably at the end.
Right.
Well, I
but,
mean,
like,
in the game, you have
But-
more reasons to like propel yourself forward despite these drawbacks, like with Ellie being unlikable, for example.
Not when you're Abby.
It's way
Terrell.
easier in the game. Okay,
No,
but this is
no.
another thing that I don't know if you quite understood from our last conversation. Like the passage of time is such a detrimental to the show versus the game. Okay, because again, with the game, regardless of what's going on, you got the whole thing. You need to know what happens next. It's just dependent upon you. Okay, you're not like reaching this point of like hellishness and then like forced to stop for 2 years and never gonna continue. And then it's like, oh yeah, by the way, this is gonna happen again because we need one other season to nail the same story. It's like Jesus Christ. It didn't take you years to get through the game. It took you like what, weeks?
But wait,
You know what I mean?
well, I'm gonna answer both your questions first. So in the game, I didn't have anybody I was attached to in that game. Period. Who in that? Matter of fact, when I saw Tommy roll up into the house with me and Dina, I was like, "Bro, don't come up in here, man." Like, look, I'm dealing with PTSD. Like, I've got a bum leg, and I'm trying to take care of this guy's stern baby and this wife right now. Don't come up in here guilt tripping me and sandbagging me. I didn't want to see him. I was happy that he was alive, but I didn't want to see that man. There was nobody in the game from a character perspective that I was like, oh, I need to hold on to them. No. But at a certain impasse, even when I was playing as Abby, like, yes, I drew value to Liv, but that took time. And everybody that was with Abby's original faction, they didn't win me over. I didn't care less. I mean, not to say that when they died, I didn't like comprehend the value, what it meant to Abby, but I didn't care. Like, they're the same ninjas that went and beat my man to death. Like, so when you talk about like, oh, well, Stranger Things got this, like, no, even in the game, that wasn't the case. But let's keep it. Hold on. But even with the time gap, what is your concern about 2 years? What do you think is going to happen?
I think you know the answer to that question, but
no, I don't. Tell me.
I don't want to answer. Oh, you want me to tell you?
Yeah, what's gonna happen in 2 years? I want you to exactly tell, because I'm gonna record it. Are we recording this?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right.
If we're comparing statistically to the like, let's say season 1, I kind of said this before, but like audience scores, the audience viewership, I think is going to potentially fall off substantially. Could not happen, could be wrong there, but I think the reasons are quite valid, and I do want to remedy something. I'm not, obviously, okay, I've been through the game. There's not 6 more Joels, sadly. There's not 13 more Jessies, unfortunately. You do not, with Stranger Things, walk away with like, oh, this was really bad, but hey, at least we got all these other characters that I love intensely next season. That is not there. That's sort of my point in terms of like the show. Like, this 2-year wait for what these people, they don't know what we know. Okay. And ironically, even if they knew what we knew, we're not exactly ending at a happy ending. I hate to tell you. Okay. If you didn't get that vibe, maybe you should start to get it. But yeah, not exactly a happy ending to this story so far. But yeah, as far as the show people, I think this is a detriment that there isn't like, we can't even be like, hey, at least there's like all these other characters that you're gonna love, like in Stranger Things. That ain't there. You know what I'm saying? And they're left off on such a cruel way as well. These are things that happen in the game, but Jesus Christ, the 2 years passage, and the last thing this all was like day 1 of Abby. So what, like episode 1 could hypothetically just be like all Abby? Like, it's like, if I didn't know that the game existed, I'm peacing out. I was telling them, like, at season 2, going to season 3 of like The Walking Dead, I loved these characters. Forget about the number of them. I loved The Walking Dead. Like, I loved storytelling. As harsh as it got, somebody even like used the N-word flat out in season 1. People forget about this. But anyway, But yeah, like the Walking Dead was just wild, you know. Like there's never really been like a fall season show like that before, and
But
it's more lovable for like so many reasons. But ironically, still really really dark.
But it's not as dark as The Last of Us, Dre. You know that.
Listen,
you know it's not.
I was gonna say
But
too,
it's
The Last of Us
more
isn't meant to be
enjoyable.
lovable.
But that's the same for the game.
Listen, as a Latino guy, do you have any idea how fucking conflicted I was with Manny in the game? To the point that, like, by the time we spent time with Abby's crew, I could give two fucks about his backstory. And again, I'm trying to spoil stuff, but let's just say in this episode, you hear a radio call. We got a sniper one night. Let's just say something happens when we spend time in Abby's crew involving a sniper. And when we got to that point in the fucking game, and again, as a Latino man, it's embarrassing. I fucking stood up and I applauded. I swore like a sailor in Spanish. And then someone was like, "What's happening?" You know, something happened. And they're like, "Did this have to do with Joe's death?" They're like, yeah, fuck him. And that's just like, and again, it's going to be very interesting to see. And again, to let people know, I love and am happy and proud for Dan Ramirez. I am so happy for you, bro. Orgulloso. But fuck Manny and them. Like that's gonna be the very interesting to see. Flat out, like that's gonna be the very most interesting to see to me. Like to look at a paisano and be like, I can't wait for us to get on that bridge and then me hearing, not even seeing, just hearing the sound of it and be like, ooh, karma's a bitch. And like, and I think that's. But here's the thing with that, the selectivity of how small, connective and likable characters we are within The Last of Us. I think that's what makes it even more of a, dare I say, of a gem or a thing of like, there's very few people you can connect to.
Yeah, it's
and
unforgiving.
And you have to walk down the path that like none of them are fully good and none of them are fully bad.
I'm not saying that like I'm not saying that it needs to be like loved like The Walking Dead. I'm just saying people have more reasons to quit than not, is what I'm trying to tell you. They have more reasons to rage quit the show than not, is what I'm trying to tell you. I can see that. They don't have all these reasons to love like The Walking Dead. They don't have all these other characters and so forth. They have so many more reasons to like rage quit. I was ready to rage quit in a matter of weeks. Never mind some goddamn 2 years gone by. I don't give a fuck what happens. Like, my boy Joel's gone, Jesse's gone, kiss my ass. Maybe I'll come back if the show is like, you know, if most people are saying like it's like 11 out of 10 or something, well then yeah, I gotta see what's going on then.
But to counter it, I would say like instead of it being like a character show, it's more like it's turned into the show of like you just don't know what's going to happen. It's like
you need to know what happens.
You're staying with the show to see the crazy bombastic moments that you don't know or like what's going to happen next.
Yeah,
like, who thought Pedro was going to die? Who thought he was going to come back later in the show and get his whole episode? Like The Last of Us is more about like the big story beats, the unpredictable moments, and then like. I think, like Ronan said too, the characters being unlikable is actually interesting. It makes you want to watch the show because when you agree with their decisions and stuff, it makes you think about yourself. Like, shit, like, am I a bad person? Like,
I a sociopath? Yeah.
Like, it lifts the mirror up to you. Like, I think The Last of Us is more. I don't want to be cringy deep, but it's like it is deeper than like.
I know I'm crazy for loving Joel. I know that right now.
Yeah, like I had that conversation with my girlfriend when I got into it too. I was like, you know, is Joel objectively maybe like not a good person? Yeah, but I'll fucking ride or die for that dude.
Yep.
And it's the same thing. It's like, is Ellie a good person? No, but I still side with her just because like it's like I don't know, like it forces you to be in the like to view people's perspectives and you choose which perspective you like. And it's like, well, I started the franchise with Ellie, even though Ellie, I think, might even do worse shit than Abby, really, when you look at the grand scheme of things. I still side with Ellie. And I know that that's probably wrong of me to do, but I do it anyway. So it's like those little moral battles that you go on, the big moments of story and like stuff like that is, I think, what would keep people watching, because The Last of Us is built like a roller coaster ride in a lot of ways where it's just
I think the game I think the show is trying to like match the show was trying to match the game emotionally, at least. Maybe they weirdly recognized that they couldn't on a violence page, so they took out more violence than they should have. But I do think they are actually trying to calibrate on an emotional level that's similar to the game for sure. Or else you wouldn't really.
Yep.
You would not do Joel's death that harshly if you weren't. You know what I mean? You're trying to remix, but you're trying to hit the broad points. You know,
and you can't do a carbon copy. You just can't because.
Correct.
Then what's the point of adapting it if you're just going to do one for one recreation?
And it's a disservice to Laura, to Troy, and Ashley.
Yeah, which is why when I say I would like more violence, I get that I can just load up and play the game and get it. But if I have to nitpick something, that's what I would say. But I don't know. To me, it's just about the journey. And on the emotional side of things, I would say it's hitting just as hard as the game most of the time for me.
That's my thing. If you're gonna turn up,
cried as much watching a show as I have with The Last of Us, and specifically this season. And I haven't cried that much playing a video game than I did when I played The Last of Us 2. All the stuff that needed to hit me emotionally, hit me emotionally. So
the community line, that was what got me with this episode. You know what happened to my community?
So we were talking about I prefer the Mel and Owen scene better in the game. I prefer the Jesse and Ellie scene in the show better than the one in the game. Yeah. Because I like that whole fuck the community. My community got beaten to death in front of me. You think you're better than me? How about you not say even though she's kind of being a hypocrite in that thing, but I like that scene better.
The ability of both points.
Show. Yeah.
If you're gonna turn up the emotional temperature, right, to basically same temperatures of the game, right? The problem there is that if the show is not told at a similar rates of quality to the game, which obviously I think there's a confliction there. The thing that gets hard is I just don't.
But I think that's subjective, honestly, Drew. But the only reason why I say that is because there are people that never play the game, even reactors. Sure. I saw one girl. And I think we got to the episode 2, and she's like, "What the heck is going on? Oh my God, Jackson!" And by the time this horde, she's like, "Who's this little girl? Somebody save her!" And she doesn't know. And I'm like, "Oh man, she's going down the same path we went down mentally."
She does.
But no, hear me. But I watched her, and it destroyed her. Right? What happened to Joel? But what equally messed her up, by the time we got to episode 5, she said something. She was like, "Ellie, no, this is gonna change you. This is gonna destroy you." And I think the biggest thing about that is I was like, it absolutely is hitting all those emotional points.
And I was
it's not the fact of, oh well, it's not a carbon copy. True, and it shouldn't be. But it is absolutely hitting people as hard that never played the game. And It's also people that are emotionally triggered and also remember the game. And it's hitting us, and we're getting sideswiped.
Yeah.
There's moments in this show that I cried that I shouldn't have. There are moments that hit me. Episode 6 shouldn't have made me that emotionally wrecked.
That opening.
I agree.
More joy that I felt in moments made me way more emotionally triggered. Mm-hmm. And I did that's something that you go through. You've had time to mend, and you're like, darn, I'm not there yet. So they're doing something right. That's why I say it's subjective.
No, I think I lost my track. But what I was trying to say before is if you're gonna raise these emotional temperatures to the same level as the game, the problem there is that many people, probably most people, felt the impulse to sort of rage quit and be like, I don't need this in my life. I'm good.
In the game,
in the game, but they had the whole thing, so they could just power through it, But this is not there in the show. The show, you have to wait in a 2-year interval, assuming nothing like COVID or something like that happens again. But at minimum 2 years. And like I think there is a weak point in your arguments of so because like
What
like
would
for
be the
example,
alternative, Drew?
huh?
What would be the alternative other than not making the show at all?
So like the best alternative would be that people that the season 3 responds like season 1. That would be like the best alternative. That would literally be like a eureka. That'd be like a lightning in a bottle situation. People perceive the 3rd season as positively as the season 1 audience scores.
Oh no, I'm talking about your time gap issue. I'm talking about
Yeah.
You're saying that the biggest thing is a gap of time that they gotta have to wait.
Correct.
What is your solution to
Correct.
that before you make a second season? Are you saying they shouldn't have made a second season altogether? Or are you saying they should have shot enough?
What's the solution? I don't know.
Lord of the Rings style.
No, I'm trying to.
What was the solution to prevent what I'm talking about? I don't know. Actually, that's a great question.
Well, that's the thing. People we have,
but they made it. I didn't do it.
Well, the solution they could have done, which would have delayed this season even further, is if they decide to shoot seasons 2 and 3 back to back.
I mean, like how?
But we wouldn't have gotten season 2 right now if they did that because that would have been
we'd be
at amazing undertaking.
No, I mean, how could they have remedied the situation? That's a great question. I don't know, but
it basically have to be what I said, which is like almost impossible for this show. Like it would have been like, okay, instead of getting season 2 in 2025, we would have gotten season 2 maybe the end of next year, and then the 3rd season the end of 2027. So I mean,
I'm just saying. I think
at the end of the day, we still get season 3 at 2027. Probably, so it doesn't even really fix the problem.
I don't think there is a way to fix it. Unfortunately, I don't know that there was a way to fix this in a way. Hell, I would not have done it. But yeah, I don't think that there was a way to fix it. Unfortunately.
Like the only other spot I can see them stopping at this point in the story is if they would have done Abby's section, and then it ended after the concluding night, day 3. After that, and it ends, and it's like you gotta wait till season 3 to finish the rest of the story. But it would have to be double the amount and almost
it would have to be 14 episodes.
It would have been like an It size type of novel.
Yeah, if we were telling Abby and Ellie's story at the same time in the same
that'd be a cluster.
You would have needed like 20 episodes. You would have needed like at least minimum 15, I think. And even then, that might have felt like coming up short.
And I mean, this is the other thing. And I'm not saying this is a theory. I'm just saying, hypothetically speaking, if they're writing the 3rd game,
it gives them time,
and they're looking.
No, it does.
Towards expansion.
No, it does. No, I get you there.
In the perfect way. I think I literally, I don't know, one of y'all, I wrote out a hypothetical timeline of how to do the transition from the series to the game to then having it. It might have been Drew. I can't remember, but I wrote it all out in the rest of the night. And yeah. The way they're playing it works to their advantage to get a game situated. And they're working on a game right now. They haven't said what the game is, but I mean, this story isn't done. So it's like
he said it himself. Yeah.
Sure.
It's on record. We saw it. We were like, he said,
and now he's maybe one around it now, but he said it. You can't take it back.
I really wouldn't be surprised if when they get to a 4th season, which they'll get it greenlit, the midway point of that transitions to
back to the game.
Yeah, no, no BS. Like them having written where they're going in the trajectory of the 3rd game. Not even gonna lie to you, because that's what I would do. Yeah. I would go, you end it as Ellie goes back home. She's lost Dina. Abby's going where she's going. And then you move from that point, because then you have the gamers don't even know where you're going from there. And that to me would mess people up. I couldn't imagine him doing that, but it would be the perfect thing to do from a writing standpoint.
The show may have concluded for now, but the story continues. Like, and we'll talk about it in next week's stream for the season. But like, I can't wait to talk about the additions they had for this show that weren't in the game, and that for me brought more depth to elements in the game that I did love, like Jackson. Like there's a I can't wait.
I actually care about Jackson. I never did really, honestly.
There's a 15-30 minute conversation we're gonna have probably next week, and it's gonna be about Jackson. Be like, you know what? I wish I'd even spend more time in Jackson and see where stuff would have gone and what would have happened before then.
That's why overall I would say I like this season more than season 1, because I think the stuff they chose to expand on in this season I found more interesting than the stuff they chose to expand on in season 1. Like
season 1,
I didn't really give a fuck about the Kansas City like Raiders that they were talking about. Like I really didn't give a fuck that like Henry got fucking that lady's brother. Yeah. I don't give a shit. Like, I really don't give a fuck. I like Sam and Henry, but I don't really give a fuck about her at all. I didn't give a shit. It's cool to see Jeffrey Pierce, but like whenever she's on screen, I kind of tune out. I don't really fucking care. Just get back to Sam and Henry. Like it's stuff like that. Like I don't know. Like that's why I like season 2 better. It's like getting Isaac stuff, getting Scar stuff. That stuff that I'm interested in. I don't need a group of Raiders getting expanded. They're pieces of shit. I don't really care. Like I get what it does for the world building and stuff, but like I don't know. I think for this season, the stuff they chose to expand upon worked very well, and them hinting in the podcast of like expanding on the Prophet and the lore of the Seraphites and how everything started between the WLF and the Seraphites. That gets me very excited because that is stuff that we teased in the game, like how we teased stuff with Isaac in the game, and now we're getting it. So I'm very interested in all of that.
Well, it looks like they're going to start shooting this month coming up in June, for the 3rd season. So
if there's a photo, set photo, something like that, well, you best believe we're going to do a stream. I think I'm going to wrap things up to talk about the finale because I just want to do this. Kaitlyn Dever, huge fan, love you, but I just hope for the best. Your experience shooting season 3 and the way artists take season 3, because it's even for me, it's going to be a lot, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. The franchise deserves it, and these characters deserve have my time to like take it in and then see if I do like it or not at the end of it. I liked, again, people were showcasing, you know, we said, the scars on her neck, that's from the from the thing, and
her
then
having the jacket,
and even the jacket, and even when she wakes up in day 1, the City of Thieves book that she's holding, it's the same one from the game, and it's a book that Neo and Bruce read to do the first game and the second game. But like to finish out, any thoughts, any lasting talks? Because again, folks, you want to tune in next week. I'm gonna try and put out the call. People like, everybody, season's over. How we all feel, and see if we can get more people on. But let's go down the line and talk with each of y'all one last time to be like, overall thoughts, any last comments you want to say about this finale for season 2 of HBO's The Last of Us? Sam?
Yeah, for sure. Man, shout out and RIP to Young, man. He did his thing. He made me a bigger Jesse fan than I was even in the game. One thing I wish, and I'm kind of on board with him as far as action, I wish we would have got that freaking chase scene with Ellie
in the car,
Jesse in the car. Man. Honestly, from a cinematic standpoint, I was just selfish. I was like, you better give me that. And I didn't get it, but I mean, I think if they maybe had like one more episode, they could have did it. Like if the last episode was like a 2-parter or 2 hours, they would have did it. But for budgetary constraints or whatever they were trying to do or the way they wanted to end it, it is what it is. I would have definitely preferred that than to see Ellie in the water for as long as she did. But all in all, I mean, it definitely hit me on an emotional level. Definitely as triggering as what I remember from the game, but very different. And I think it's very different in a very specific way. Definitely intrigued to talk about more of the series next week. But yeah, man, as far as like ratings concerned, 9 out of 10, easy. I mean, it may grow higher than that. I've only seen the episode like once. I would love to go and see it again. But I think I might need to go back through the whole entire season because I love some of you guys' points because I thought about the season 1 versus season 2. There are moments in the season 2 that hit me very differently than season 1 did. But I really did appreciate this episode. I think it'll be more valuable when we get to the second or the third season get to the first episode. I think it's going to be an interesting little transition. That's going to build up to something very interesting that I don't think the audiences are ready for, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah. Terrell, any final thoughts?
As far as the finale goes, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'd probably give it like I don't know, maybe like a 5 out of 10 or something. I did think I thought it was narratively bad personally, but I mean, like literally almost any other episode, it excels technically. Like, cinematography is usually solid, music, score, or sound design, makeup. But usually, all that stuff is usually like extremely solid. To be honest with you. But yeah, narratively, nah. I would say it was pretty poor to bad in the finale. Even if I had never even heard the game, I would almost be destined to feel pretty similar, especially with the season so short. And I gotta wait 2 years to see more. Hopefully only 2 years. Like 7 episodes? What? Crazy. You're crazy pants. Even if I never knew the game, you're crazy. We at least needed like 10 or 13. Easy. Are you out of your mind? And then they're making this finale. Well, what was it, like 49 minutes? What was it? Something like that?
50 minutes.
It was 50 minutes.
50 minutes? Like, what? Like, all right. Whatever. But, I don't know. They got a lot of ground to cover, and somehow we need to be so riveted that even if a 4th or 5th season comes, we don't care. It's like, okay. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts.
All right. Gianni?
I mean, I'll save my thoughts on like the whole season for the next stream we do, but
Right.
for this episode specifically, like I said, I didn't love it, but I liked it. I thought it did what it needed to do for the most part. I feel like the pacing was a little rushed at times. I think there was parts of the episode that were a little unnecessary. And there was even scenes in the episode that I preferred the execution of in the game. But like I said, the game always exists, so it's like it's not really that big of a deal. I think for everything that they were trying to do in the show, they accomplished it. Would I have changed things? Yeah, but would I have changed things apart to the video game? Yeah. So I mean, like, it's kind of one of those things where it is hard, I think, for a lot of us to separate the show from the game. I really try to look at it as a companion piece, but for this episode, for some reason, I think just because of the implications of it, I found myself comparing it a lot more to the game than I have with the past episodes. And I've only seen episode 1 time, so if I watch it again, which I'm going to, it might grow on me a little more, but I enjoyed it. Parts of it I really liked. I really loved the Jesse and Ellie stuff was the big highlight for me, of this episode.
Yeah.
And I thought the ending was a ballsy move that I respect the hell out of. And I am very excited to see how we carry the torch forward in season 3. So overall, episode wise, it's middle of the pack for me for the season, but I think it did what it needed to. I just maybe would have tweaked a few things personally, but that's more nitpicky than like anything. The performances are great. Obviously, we talked about how amazing the actual filmmaking in the show is, but overall, I liked it. I didn't love it. It's not my favorite episode of the season, but I did really like it. And I think it did what it needed to do. And I'm excited to just like talk about the whole season next week in the future next week also.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you fellas hit the points for me with it. Where I think the Jesse's and Ellie scene, both when they find the books for the babies, which is again is right out of the game, and even
Awesome.
I noticed it, but there was a sad where's mine? It was a sad plushie of a giraffe,
Yeah.
like almost beaten in the ground, just laying there, and I know they captured it like it was just laying there, and I'm like, that's hinting at stuff that it's not gonna be the same anymore, and yeah, I again, we have our perspectives on Ellie this season compared to where we come from the game, but that does not take away any energy, tear, bloodshed that Bella put out on the dance floor. Like that, what they went through each episode, I commend them all out of the way. And I may have my favorite parts with this story, but I know that they're doing their best to honor Ellie as much as they can, and I appreciate that. And the same thing with young Messino, same thing with Isabella as Dina, and I think even Kaitlyn will do so for Laura in season 3. Folks, that's our talk of the finale of Last of Us season 2. But next week we will talk about the season as a whole because there's a lot more to pick up: favorite moments, favorite characters, favorite episodes, favorite pieces of music, favorite scenes, a whole lot of stuff, and we want you all involved in it as well. One more lap around to go, boys. Let people know where they can find you and promote anything you got coming up down the pipeline. Let's start with Sam.
Yeah, you guys, you can follow us on Team JVS on YouTube. We are on Instagram if you want to see anime content, interviews, random sports moments. So sad, Timberwolves. What else? We do have a group of people that are going to San Diego Comic-Con. We should be doing Toronto International Film Festival this year. We've got a lot of things going on, so definitely go and check out all our socials, all our YouTube pages. And if you want to check me out on any of my socials, it's Super SEL0320, and you can chat with me anytime. Thanks for having me, Ronnie.
Beautiful. Always, hermano. Jarrell?
All right. Yes, Jarrell's Alexandria. That's my main hub. Also, YouTube channel. You can find all my stuff there. Bunch of like reviews, movies, and TV shows. I'm about to start getting heavy into like ancient history stuff and UFO stuff here soon, which is going to be wild. But yeah, that's where you can find me and my stuff.
Nice. Johnny, Paisano.
It's gonna be Johnny Bravo 6 on Twitch now that The Last of Us is done. My Music Monday series will return with Chainsaw Reacts. For everyone that knows Council of Creators, I'll be on Council of Creators with Ronan as well as with Chainsaw. And yeah, just follow the Twitch Johnny Bravo 6. That's probably where most of my content's gonna be. And then obviously right here on Bottles of Bricks with Mr. Ronan Unchained himself. It's always a pleasure, sir. Thank you for having me on all season. I can't wait to be on in the future as well. It's a great time.
Of course, man. I love this convo. We had a deep convo with this finale.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, folks, as always, I've always said it, to quote her for saying it, bring it home for us. To the edge of the universe and back. Endure and survive. Take care, everybody.